So I just removed my air intake valve and she is crusty dusty, like pretty bad. Okay, this is an electrical component. I have a 2019 Dodge Ram Classic Tradesman, and yesterday, this is pretty gross. I knew it was going to be bad. Yesterday it was like 113, and every time we stopped, the car would pretty much like stall out and we'd have to restart it. So I'm going to clean this up, and I know I didn't record getting it out of the truck, but I'll record putting it back in because there's not a lot of tradesmen Dodge trucks on YouTube, so we're going to do this. I am not a mechanic, but I am the daughter and niece of amazing mechanics, and I grew up learning how to do all this stuff, basically from my dad, my uncles, my brother, and just on my own with unearned confidence. So here we go. Not the brake clean. I am going to clean my brakes a little bit later, but I just went to AutoZone and picked up the CRC throttle body and air intake cleaner. Don't mind my dirty dishes. I'm doing this on the counter because this counter is easy to clean. I just have a piece of cardboard down because I did just drive my truck and this is pretty warm. And this is pretty cold, the granite. So just to avoid any issues, and I'm a cook, so I don't have any feeling in my fingers anymore. Anyway, so whenever you are cleaning these out, because of this electric component, the first thing is you want to tilt it this way, basically like this, when you spray it, if you're going to spray it inside. And also the gap that's in there where you can see the light coming from the other side, like that's supposed to be there. Don't push on that butterfly flap because you could mess up the components. So we're going to be very delicate. We're going to be using these disposable microfiber cloths. And then I have some of these cosmetic Q-tips or like cosmetic cotton swabs that I'm going to be using. They're pretty tightly wound. So like, for example, let's focus. So this is actually like pretty hard to the touch. I just got that one dirty. But yeah, so they're not very soft on either end. They're pretty hard and they'll absorb a lot of liquid. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put some in the cap, and then I'm going to just clear around the edge. And then once I've cleared the edge, then I'm going to wipe out the rest of it. Okay, so I have already gotten a lot of gunk off. That was pretty intense. So I'm going to try to hold my phone here. I am not the best at taking video, so bear with me. I don't have any kind of fancy camera set up. This isn't going to work. All right, hold on. So I am just going to do it this way. Mind my thumb. So what I've done is I'm going to saturate with some of the liquid I've put in this cap. I'm going to saturate both ends of this cosmetic cotton swab, and I'm just going to show you, once my camera, we're going to just gingerly focus, gingerly wipe in here. Okay, you see it's just extremely gunked up, and I'm just going to loosen up some of this caked on crud because when I get my microfiber cloth in there, it'll help. So we're going to go all around, loosening up all that gunk. Okay, so you can see that it is real nasty. Get that other end in there, the blunter end. Clean up some of that gunk. So yeah, it's pretty gross. This is going to take a few Q-tips, but it's really thick. Like you can see just how thick it is, like over here on this corner. Yeah, so this is going to take a little bit, but I just want to show you that we just want to be very careful with electronic components because, you know, even though it's a big beefy truck, like some of this stuff is fairly delicate, and we want to be very careful to not like mess any of that up. Otherwise you're gonna cost yourself some money when you're trying to save yourself some money. So, and we ball on a budget over here. All right, see, it is just thick. Like that is just like a thick carbon chunk. Okay, so this is one side done. I got in there and I used quite a few of these pointed tip Q-tips, which are really super helpful, and I got these at Ross for like $3 for like a giant tube of them. So I know that sounds kind of silly, but they actually really work for fine detailing for cars. The fine tip is really nice. So just so you guys understand, like they are blunt on one side and pointed, and like they're very hard. They're not super soft, so they're very absorbent. And then I just used these microfiber towels. Here's what the towel looked like when I first ran it through, and here is the last little bits of it. So very satisfying. So yeah, this is basically the after. Like there is still some crud in there, so we can actually go back in, and I'm just gonna fill up my little lid here and take the fine tip here, dip it in my cleaning solution, get it nice and saturated. Okay, so it's nice and saturated, and then I am just going to get that last little bit. You know, I'm very much a perfectionist, and you know, got to do it right so that it lasts another 50,000 miles, you know, or more. All right, so there's that. Let's get this little dude cleaned up in there. Each side, I go over this and this side. Oh yeah. All right, and we're gonna just dry it off. Clean up that last little bit of carbon residue. Sorry for my terrible cameraman skills. This is like my first video ever. My son would be proud of me. All right, so that is looking pretty shiny and pretty clean. All right, let's turn it over. So look, even just that little bit, like you can just go forever and forever cleaning this. Let's do the other side, and then we'll do some spot treatments. So I'm gonna flip it over so you guys can see the difference, basically the after versus the before. Oh my God. So after, before, very satisfying. All right, let's get in there. So if you guys want to see how I spray it, I'm gonna spray it down away from the, and I'm also gonna do the outside because it needs it. Okay, I'm just gonna let that sit for a couple seconds, and then I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna do some detailing, wipe it clean, and then we'll just fine tune it. Okay, I just want to show you guys that this side is much worse than the front side. It is super thick. So like here I've cleaned where it's going to be silver. Like this whole thing is just caked. Like no wonder my truck was stalling at lights yesterday in the heat. So I've just gone ahead and like loosened up all that crud. I'm going to continue to loosen it up on this side and on this side before I wipe it down with the cloth. And it's gonna be shiny. Okay, so I've loosened up all that goop in there. You know, for the most part, there's still some around here. But I'm gonna wipe it out, spray it down again, and try to loosen up some more of that crud. But dang, especially like, oh my God, like look at this. This is just so chunky. Crazy. All right, very satisfying. Okay, so that was crazy. So let me first show you the rag, because that's, I feel like, the most satisfying part. So, and then, look at that. We still obviously have some detailing to do. I need to get in there. Do you see some of those chunks in there? So that's going to affect it too. So we need to get in there and get some of those chunks out. I might go grab a toothbrush and see if I can't wiggle, or maybe like a toothpick, and get some of that stuff out. So, okay, here's where I become a perfectionist. So, in between the gaps, there's some crud. And it's driving me nuts. I'm trying to get it out. So I just grabbed a toothbrush and I'm gonna wet it with some cleaner. I'm gonna get in there and scrub, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we are beautiful, and all of those chunks are gone. And here's the back. Gorgeous, shiny, perfect. Absolutely stunning. I'm gonna kind of clean up these edges here, and then we're gonna go put it back in the truck. Okay, here we are back at the truck, and I am just checking my gasket. I see that it's a little bit dirty, so I am gonna spray some of that intake cleaner on there and get that all clean, and then I'm gonna reinstall the intake valve. All right, that's all clean now. So nice and clean all the way around and inside. And here's the rag. It was pretty gross in there. The other thing that I'm going to do is I am going to kind of clean off that little electrode clip because it's got some carbon on there. I'm going to be very gentle with that. Okay, so now I have the throttle valve back on, and I'm just going to tighten up all of those bolts. There's that one, that one, that one, and that one. There's just 4 bolts. And what I'm using is just this little wrench with a 5/16 for those bolts. Okay, so the hardest part is over, and she's looking really nice and clean. So we're gonna take this longer one that was plugged in there, and we're just gonna plug that back in here. Make sure it clips, and you heard that clip. Okay, and then I've got this hood, and we are just going to put this guy back on over here, clip in his little clippy, and I'm going to tighten this cinch around there. So we're going to do that right now. And then you just need a flathead screwdriver to tighten that joiner. Okay, and now that joiner is on there nice and tight, so that boot is on nice and tight and even. And then we've got like one more little clip right here. Move my spray. And so we have this little clip that's just gonna go in there and click. Okay. And now I need my Phillips again. And we are gonna put this guy back on and joint them right there. I took it off so that I could move this lid because it was real tight on there with this on. So I'm just going to cinch both sides up right here, and we're going to run the truck and see what's going on, see if it sounds good. Okay, everything is back on nice and tight. Checked my filter's clean. Everything looks good. Everything is back in place. All right, so we're going to turn on the truck and see how she purrs. Okay, everything seems to be running perfectly. Radiator fan is good. Easy. Anyone can do this. Didn't even take a lot of muscle or anything. I'm honestly like always surprised at myself because I've always been the one to like get on YouTube or Google or figure out how to do something. And you might be saying, Kate, like, where's your husband? Well, my husband is busy making $120,000 a year at his job. So I'm happy to take care of the truck and the car. We just got a Mercedes. So, and when that needs help, I will learn how to fix that too. And yeah, so that was the throttle intake, and next we're gonna work on the brakes, and we're just gonna clean them. The brakes are good, they're just pretty squeaky, so we're just gonna clean those up. And yeah, she's running really well. I'm excited. Sounds great.